INEC seals Bola Tinubu's victory as president-elect with presentation of certificates of return.
President Buhari and cabinet ministers congratulate President-elect Bola Tinubu.
House of Representatives seeks development of solid minerals producing communities.
And Good Morning Nigeria today continues its review of the 2023 presidential elections.
The 2023 presidential and National Assembly elections in Nigeria have come and gone, and winners have emerged. But the elections will remain unique, full of twists, turns, surprises, and even upsets. This is because some political strongholds were broken and long-standing ties shattered, with some political juggernauts unable to deliver not only their polling units, but local government and states in general.
Well, the presidential election was particularly interesting because it revealed, among other things, a new consciousness in the minds of the youth who trooped out early on Saturday, the 25th of February, to freely and democratically exercise their franchise in having a say in who leads the country effective May 29th this year. Now, leading political parties shared the 36 states evenly, and it showed how competitive the election just was. Yeri?
Very true, and noticeable is the increased enthusiasm of Nigerians during the electoral process. Many claim is an indication of the people's renewed vigor and desire for a transformative development of the nation.
And of course, as usual, mixed reactions have arisen on account of INEC's challenges in conducting a smooth exercise, particularly with some of the glitches that were observed. Polls failed to open on time, and in places where they were opened, they of course had some other issues with regard to the beavers that was supposed to be a game changer in the elections. Ultimately, for the presidential election, as we indicated in our headlines a moment ago, Ahmed Tinubu of the ruling All Progressives Congress has been declared winner with nearly 8.8 million votes, although we should also underscore the fact that the other parties, including the People's Democratic Party, which came second, Labour Party, which came third, and the NNPP, which came fourth, have rejected the outcome of the elections.
Very true. But talking about the president-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu, after receiving the certificate of return, he says his victory goes beyond the party to a victory for democracy, where everyone can dream and achieve their dreams with determination. He also called on all, including those political parties you have mentioned, to cooperate with him for a greater Nigeria.
Well, in the meantime, stakeholders, including the National Peace Committee, the Nigerian Civil Society Situation Room, and other public figures have asked Nigerians to remain calm while calling on aggrieved parties to channel their grievances through the processes of the courts. So, we are continuing, as I said earlier, our review of the 2023 presidential elections. There are a lot of matters to chew on. No question about that. The surprises you talked about, the strangleholds that were, as it were, broken. And if we also look at the corollary National Assembly elections, which took place on the same day, there were some stunning surprises.
Not some, many stunning surprises, I must tell you.
Yes.
Because people that you thought, well, will permanently hold your seats and may never lose it to anyone. We saw them losing to people that we don't even know their names or where they come from.
That's right. That's right. And the point always had been made that some former governors had chosen the Senate as their retirement home. Was their next...
Unfortunately, 6 of them will be retiring to their real homes.
To their real homes, to their real permanent address. This will include, of course, the governors of Abia, governor of Benue, governor of Kebbi, governor of Plateau, and a host of others. And the least intriguing was the fact a so-called Okada rider, we're not seeking to diminish his status, won the election to the House of Representatives. And this was in Kaduna State. And
I hear in the news that the placeholder suddenly woke up to hear that he's now a senator.
So that's the way it is. And on Monday I did talk about the intriguing nature. On the one hand, you have people complaining about the conduct of the election. On the other hand, you have some of these pleasant surprises about which others are excited. So we'll be having a new set of guests this morning to further review the elections and, of course, matters pointing on the way forward with respect to what needs to be done or tidied up, because next week we have the governorship and state houses of assembly election. That will be on the 11th of March. Thank you for joining us on today's edition of Good Morning Nigeria. I'm Kingsley Osadolo.
And I'm Henry John. Other segments of Good Morning Nigeria, of course, will be hitting you live this morning on the network service of the NTA. But first, let's have the news with Anne Jibuno as our guide. Anne, good morning to you.
Hello, good morning, Yeri and Kingsley. Good morning, Nigeria. Here's the news. The victory of Bola Tinubu as president-elect has been sealed by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, with the presentation of certificates of return. The ceremony took place at the International Conference Center, Abuja. Moments after receiving his certificate of return from INEC, the president-elect Asiwaju Bola Tinubu was at the Daura residence of President Muhammadu Buhari in Katsina State to show appreciation for his leadership, support and guidance that led to the victory of the APC at the polls. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports that the vice president-elect Senator Kashim Shettima also came calling. They were accompanied on the visit by the party's national chairman, Senator Abdullahi Adamu, several progressives, governors, and many others chieftains of the governing party. During the visit, both the president-elect Asiwaju Tinubu and Vice President-elect Senator Kashim Shettima presented their certificates of return to President Muhammadu Buhari. The highly elated President Buhari and his guest later held talks on a wide range of issues behind closed doors for about 30 minutes before details were not disclosed. The president-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu later spoke to the media on the reasons for making Daura their first port of call after receiving their certificates of return. Our political and community leaders in Katsina State have continued to pour into President Muhammadu Buhari's private residence in Daura to express their happiness and congratulate him following the emergence of his party's candidate, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, as the next president of the country.
In Katsina, we had the election without loss of life, without any violence recorded. And so he is very pleased and happy about it, and the reports coming from across the nation that have been reaching him have indicated quite a successful election. And you know, as a president leaving office, having a successor from his party, so I don't think you need to ask him whether he is happy or not happy. The answer is known, is positive, that he is more happy than the candidate, because this is his election. It's a verdict on the performance of his government that was the reason why people of Nigeria voted for All Progressive Congress.
Vice President Yemi Osinbajo and other members of the Federal Executive Council expressed their satisfaction on the just concluded presidential election and congratulated President-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu on his victory at the polls. Council wished him the best as he prepares to lead the nation. The Vice President and the Council also congratulate Vice President-elect Kashim Shettima and First Lady-designate Oluremi Tinubu. The Council's meeting was presided over by Vice President Yemi Osinbajo.
Seek the Council's approval for the award of contract for the procurement of transmission line materials for the conductoring works for the Transmission Company of Nigeria in favor of Messrs. Legacy Power in the sum of 6 million $31,748.
And the Nigerian Civil Society Situation Room is urging all political parties and aggrieved parties to pursue well-established constitutional and legal remedies available to them and go through the democratic process of the courts following the declaration of the results of the 25th February 2023 presidential election.
Nigeria is bigger than all of us. Nigeria is bigger than everyone. We need to take this country as patriotic Nigerians to stay together with all of the stakeholders.
Young Africa also condemns the cases of violence and disruption of the voting and results coalition process by thugs and hoodlums.
In other news, the House of Representatives is making a case for solid minerals producing communities in Nigeria to be allotted some percentage of proceeds from the sector for development purposes in the communities. In this regard, the bill to establish the Nigerian Solid Minerals Community Development Commission has been passed, or rather has passed second reading.
Responsibility being an integral part of every mining and exploration act to make sure that communities or those that are adversely affected are catered for.
A High Court of the Federal Capital Territory has ordered the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission to provide more documents on the investigation of the suspended Accountant General of the Federation, Ahmed Idris, for alleged fraud. Ahmed Idris and 3 other defendants are facing a 14-count charge of converting 109 billion naira to private use.
We had statements taken on 13 several days, and we took the trial within trial evidence in respect of 12 of those statements. Just one of the statements was inadvertently omitted from the proof of evidence.
These statements are very important because this case, as we have always said, will reveal so many things. So we believe that the prosecution has to place all its cards on the table.
That's the news for now. Good Morning Nigeria continues with Yeri and Kingsley after this break. Please stay with us.
Nigerians, elections are here again. Let us shun violence. Let us play the game according to the rules. Do not be a thug. Say no to violence. Let's rise and defeat violence, crime, and sabotage against the peace of our nation. Nigeria is the only country we have. We must do everything to keep it united. We must avoid any act that promotes hate and disintegration. Say no to separatist movement, terrorism, fake news, hate speech, religious bigotry, and any act that tends to divide us as a nation. Watch out for strange gatherings and suspicious movements. Restrict access to sensitive documents and data, the disclosure of which may damage national security. Educate your staff and family, particularly on measures to safeguard information and report security breaches. Apply relevant legal security guidelines to protect yourself and your neighbors. Due to misinformation and wrong choices, some idle persons resort to vices in their greed to get rich quick. They resort to kidnapping, killings for rituals, and other heinous crimes. Avoid wrong use of the social media. Before you broadcast that false message, think twice. Ask whether it will promote peace or violence. For safety at home, still be security conscious. Educate your household on safety tips. Report all suspicious movements and persons to the security agencies nearest to you. Be a good citizen. Be patriotic. To pass security information, please call 0813-222-2105, 0915-339-1309, 0908-837-3514, or send a mail to dsspr@dss.gov.ng. This message is from the Department of State Services, DSS.
Honestly, words cannot express how we feel. Before the bridge, the road from here, Nasarawa to Loko, is about 74 kilometers. This is the link between Nasarawa and Loko. The bridge, which is about 3-5 kilometers across the river Benue, has been on for about 10 years now. Before now, if you live here for Loko, 74 kilometers, and somebody leaves Nasarawa for Kaduna, he will get to Kaduna before you get to Loko. The implication of the completion of this bridge is the cutting of the travel distance by about 3 hours. Our people from Nasarawa can now travel from here to Onitsha and come back on the same day. The economic and social consequences of this milestone development can hardly be compared to the ease with which people move has opened the area, and many people are coming around now to invest in agriculture. Where to score this government on this achievement, we will score them extremely high because it has changed the dynamics of the social and economic activities of our people.
The counsel of our fathers.
My advice to these young people is please do not take us back to those harrowing days. You probably do not know what it is.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
Swings it in, Havertz is there! And Chelsea take the lead by Greenwood. And the header was a good one. So Fernandes, Joe Felix, flash. Chelsea take the early lead in this London derby. Oh, by Christensen, and straight away, what a hit! Rodrigo!
Sportybet sponsors coverage of the English Premier League.
Up next is newspaper review.
Our newspaper reviewer, Chukwudi Okole-Ogbaja, is right here with us in the studios. As he says, he's always excited to be on set. So, how excited are you this morning, Chukwudi?
You know, boys like me get easily excited. What are you laughing about? Good morning, Kingsley.
Good to see you.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning, Chukwudi. If you say you're a boy, then I think I'm still a child. Okay, let's kick off with what the papers have.
Chooks the boy.
Claire deceives him with Chooks the boy, you mean?
All right, so let's begin with what the papers have this morning. I have the Blueprint newspaper and also the Punch, but starting with the Blueprint, we have the Borders headline here. Tinubu fulfills lifelong ambition, gets certificate of return. The Riders says, I shall be a fair leader to all Nigerians. Obi and I will get to power somehow one day. That's credited to Dati, the vice presidential candidate of the Labour Party. Take grievances to court, not streets, Buhari tells Atiku, Obi, Kwankwaso. Olubado, ACF, YCE, others congratulate Tinubu, urge caution. Above that story, just below the masthead this morning, we have your attributes. Fidelity to progressive ideals needed now. That's credited to Oshibajo. The Riders, we have switch into action. You have the capacity. Oni and IBB urge the president-elect. Away from that particular story, now in a blue strip just below the Borders headline, we have Buhari's achievements in security attracting other African nations. And that's credited to some reps. Details you can find on page 7 of the Blueprint. Finally this morning, we have JAM sacks 2 staffers for gross misconduct.
Okay, we also take a look at the window page of the New Telegraph, and we go straight to some of the headlines immediately below the nameplate. It says, reps applaud Buhari on national security reform. With a rider, herdsmen kill volunteer guard member and 6 others in fresh Benue attack. APC's victory, Port Harcourt voters vow to repay PDP in governorship election. CLO accuses Rivers and INEC of truncating people's mandate. Alleged attempt to hack into INEC server should be probed. That's attributed to Falana. Dogowa, that's the House Majority Leader, remanded in prison till March 7th over allegations of culpable homicide. Details on page 30. Presidency, that's the kicker for the lead headline. Tinubu receives certificate of return, urges Nigerians to shed artificial restrictions of bias and prejudice. You have the stories, of course, right inside the paper at pages 2, 3, 5, 26, 27, and 28. You have a number of riders on the front page there, but we'll skip them and then you go to the details inside. Poll challenges not enough to invalidate results. That's attributed to President Buhari. Urges aggrieved opposition to seek redress in court. Says Tinubu's victory affirms continuation of development in his administration. Expect another severe flooding. That's according to NEMA DG. And then Oshibajo to international community support AU and ECOWAS in rejecting coup. Police. We found electoral materials in Abuja property. And missing statement stalls as Accountant General's trial in alleged 109 billion naira fraud. Poll results, disquiet and protests in Abuja, Edo, and others. CSOs demand fresh elections. Ogun, police deploy personnel to banks and INEC offices. Jubilant residents celebrate Tinubu's victory in Osun towns. Kaduna police ban celebration rallies by parties and supporters. Dati, that's the kicker. Dati, of course, Ahmed, the running mate to Peter Obi, will reclaim our mandate. It says incoming government illegal and unconstitutional. Employ legal means to seek redress on outcome. FEC tells aggrieved parties. And study links artificial sweeteners to heart attack and stroke. Yeah.
All right, looking at the Punch now, we have here the same story, of course, which is leading all the papers this morning. Tinubu was the take will be as parties reject result. The riders, PDP, Labour Party, NNPP, others refuse to sign election result sheets in Abuja. We also have Buhari, Oshibajo, UK, ECOWAS, Senate, governors congratulate President-elect. And we also have a big campaign, most legal battle as Tinubu visits Buhari in Daura. Just beside the masthead this morning of the Punch, we have Obi, the trader, who changed the game. Details on page 12. And above the masthead, we have banks' assets rise to 73 trillion naira. That's credited to the CBN. The grant Nigerians visas on arrival. Federal government tells India. Details on page 13. And on page 19, we have marketers to sanction depots, filling stations over pricing fuel. Just below the picture story, of course, the picture story of the Punch this morning is an infographics of what the results actually look like, talking about the presidential election, which went down on the 25th of February. And beside that, we have Emilokon, the kingmaker who became king. Details on page 7. That's it from the Punch this morning. All right, so Kingsley, I guess you have one more paper, right?
Oh, well, let's go over to Chukwudi, and then if we have time, we'll return to it so that we don't eat too deeply into his time.
Okay, it's okay. It's our time, really. I like what I share with you here. I have to confess, openly.
Let's go straight to the...
Now, I think we are managing the day after or the days after, to be more accurate, so well that it gladdens my heart. We have not had very serious cases of post-election, protest. Well, here and there people are talking, and some are slugging it out still on social media. That is to be expected. But what matters to me now on a personal basis is the result to one of the bastions of democracy, the judiciary. The LP presidential running mate, Yusuf Dati Baba Ahmed, who will challenge election outcome in court, says APC defeated the Labour Party through illegalities. I don't know about he saying that the incoming government is one that he regards as unconstitutional. I think it's for the court to make such pronouncements, if ever that is going to be the case. Yeah, passion comes into it. When you have very high expectations and all of a sudden it doesn't quite go your way, it is to be expected that you say a few things that are human. Buhari admits faults in electoral process. He encourages aggrieved parties to seek justice in court. It reminds me of, Yar'Adua's statement concerning the election that brought him in. He actually pledged electoral reforms. He admitted that the election that brought him in wasn't the best of elections. President Muhammadu Buhari says there were faults in the electoral process, but he says that complaints associated with the polls aren't enough to invalidate the exercise. The president is entitled to his opinion. The courts will have the final say. I think so far so good. Nigerians are, discharging character, so to speak, in very noble ways. And I think that it is something that we should applaud. The other time, somebody was saying that the standard of the February 25 exercise didn't quite live up to what Nigeria had notched up for itself. Well, it's debatable. It depends on who's judging it. I think it was an EU representative talking about that. Whatever happens, we should be concerned that in 2023, some of the things we thought we had handled effectively will still stir, in our elections. Then here, Tinubu, I'll work with everybody. I'm not here to canvass for the president-elect, but I want to say that I believe him when he says he will work with everybody. I think his character shows that, president shows that. He and his vice president-elect have got their certificates of return. So let us see where we go from there. Please, may I invite comments from you at this stage?
Well, the first comment I'd like to make, and this is something that sometimes we take for granted, and it's coming from the earpiece on the front page of the Punch newspaper. If you recall, yesterday we said the leadership headline was the kingmaker who's become king, and we threw in the fact that
monarchy and all that.
Nigeria is not a monarchy, but it was a manner of writing. That also appears again on the front page here of the Punch newspaper. But the earpiece is the one that I find concerning. If we can say the Punch on the front on the screen now, we probably will take a look at that. It says Obi, that's the kicker. It says the trader. The trader is there in inverted commas, which is to say, not necessarily a trader, who changed the game.
Yeah.
I think that this is one of the ways you engage in name calling in order to denigrate the trader who changed the game. This is one of the things you heard in the course of the campaigns. Peter Obi studied philosophy at the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, and graduated in 1984. And at some point, if you recall, during the campaigns, when there were allegations that he probably made a bad pass or made a third class, his aides had to even publish his certificate showing that I didn't make a first class, I made a second class lower division, 2-2. And of course, he started out his life engaging in trading. Now, this is not petty trading or somebody selling recharge cards by the wayside, and so on and so forth. And from there, the gentleman has grown. He's a major investor in Fidelity Bank, which is one of the banks standing in Nigeria today. And he also has, I think, interest in other financial services. And besides, he was two-term governor of Anambra State. So not a rookie. And he was also chairman of the Securities and Exchange Commission. So when you say trader, I mean, as I said, in the course of political campaigns, you can throw that about, you're a trader. We know what it means in our lingo. Whether if I call you that, you are just a trader, man. You know what that means. Yes. It's intended to denigrate. So I think we ought to, whether it's in inverted commas or not.
That's the point I'm making. Maybe that headline maker is actually applauding an antelope that threatened a lion effectively. It could be that.
I'm telling you now that even the profile, I think if you place them side by side.
Yes.
President-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu, two-term governor of Lagos. Peter Obi, who ran on the ticket of Labour Party, two-term governor of Anambra State.
That's straight writing.
So
that's straight writing.
I don't know. I'm just saying that. I'm saying it for the purposes of casting headlines and so on and so forth. That's what I'm talking about.
If denigration,
we move away from such name calling and
denigration is intoned, Kingsley, you are absolutely correct.
It's like somebody saying, for instance, and I say this with the greatest respect, I don't mean to denigrate any person. I say, oh, Kingsley, the shoes you are wearing are barmaid. What does that tell you?
Anyways, I think that would be different from this particular headline. I agree with what you have said to a point, but, you know, like Chukwudi tried to mention, the inverted commas actually, you know, goes to show that, well, we don't mean the trader as in a street trader kind of thing, but we mean someone who is well experienced, to someone who has actually cut his teeth as far as trading is concerned, you know, whatever it is. I mean, in the business,
could actually be the man looked down upon
in the business sector,
has turned around to show that
well,
he could
politically,
move mountains.
yes, exactly.
It depends.
So maybe that is it. And yes, although you may want to say, well, it's name calling, but I think I also got to hear some people in the Labour Party use that term during the campaigns. You know, just to show that, okay, well, this is not your normal, regular, everyday politician. This is somebody who knows, you know, how to change 10 naira to 100 naira or something like that. Do you understand? Like yes. The term trader, like somebody who knows how to do business very well and who understands the business terrain. So maybe that's like, I'm thinking that's what the editor was thinking.
No, we can only conjecture. We can only conjecture.
No, I know you. I also mentioned the fact that even people in the Labour Party got to use that term during the campaigns. I remember
they started using it after the opponents were casting him aside as a trader.
Kingsley, so I think I've heard him. And I'm saying that. I've heard him say, I'm just a trader.
Precisely, that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
You know, there's also, gentlemen, we know that the elections are over.
Yes.
I'm talking about our profession.
Okay, fine.
And that's why I said it relates to headline casting. What you are saying that when Peter Obi refers to himself, I'm just a trader.
Okay.
I can tell you I'm just a journalist.
That's it.
I've said that. You can say you're just a journalist, but we all know that. We all know our ranking.
An editor is an editor.
We know our ranking in the profession. Let's be frank. So a person can choose to engage in self-denigration to achieve a particular purpose, but you don't just carry on and say you trade. I've told you it's a big-time investor.
Oh, sure.
So from trading is not a small business.
He has stints at Yale as well as
that's his education.
He's done courses in the universities that matter. The institutions
Ivy League institutions. So I mean, this is not about him. We're just talking about the way we cast headlines and so. For the president-elect, Ebilo says it's my turn. Yes, because he has always looked forward to being the president of Nigeria, not for his own personal sake, but for what he believes he can do for Nigeria, and that's why he put himself forward to say, look, elect me as your president, and this is what I will do. And they banked on his record in Lagos, and now 8.8 million votes, his president-elect.
Do you know that one of the things I admire here is how we do not hide members of our clan? I remember when Chiroma went for treatment, way back in time. And when he came back to Nigeria, somebody wrote, Finance Minister returns to Nigeria in a wheelchair. That was in bad faith. There were other ways you could have couched it. You see, when we talk about these things, it depends on, yesterday on a platform for journalists, I said, thinking that knowing about factuality, fairness, accuracy, objectivity, and balance is enough to make you a journalist is fallacy. If you do not have integrity, none of these things will work for you. You have to sound ennobling at a point. I know what Kingsley is talking about. And I'm more, for people to write the way he's talking about. We're just giving the benefit of the doubt to the editors.
I want to just, this would be of interest to Inyere and all of us, because in the presidential election that took place on Saturday, there were 18 candidates we all know, and one of the candidates was a woman. of the Allied People's
Movement.
APM, Princess Chichi Ojei. She scored 29,961 votes, just about 26,000 votes. I don't know what the percentage that works out. This is quite a distant position from it. So it's an issue that we have to take a look at. Where were the women? Is it that people don't like yourselves, as it is sometimes said?
No, Kingsley,
I don't know.
Thank God,
Kingsley,
it's not
I
clear.
think you shouldn't
Thank
go
God
there.
It's not clear sitting beside you.
No,
Even
if it's not clear, I would take the position of clear
want to
here.
deputize
Yes.
That's why I said it would be of interest to you.
The question should be, where were the men? Why didn't they vote for the woman? Okay, that should be the question, because again, we know that the platform provided for these political parties and all of that, the APM you just mentioned, some people don't even know that party exists to start with. Number two, some of these political parties, the 18 of them, didn't have the opportunity to go around the country to campaign. That's another point. Then number three, we know the challenges that women face in this country. So I mean, coming out with that number of votes, I think she should be applauded to a point, because
I know that if my wife were a politician, I wouldn't like her to attend those nocturnal meetings, witchcraft 3 a.m. meetings. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. We'll look for ways of surviving.
Okay, well, all right.
but I assure the men that come 2027, we'll see more women on the ballots.
That's a hopeful outlook. That's a hopeful. There's another one. We'll keep it for another day. Just before the elections, there were reports that in Kogi State, the government, according to the allegation, dug a moat around the Sun community.
That's to tell you how men.
Look, Kingsley.
No, but that's to tell you how men try to stop women from moving forward politically, because it affected that particular woman. That
they moated in community. All right, Chukudi.
They moated and mooted her.
Chukudi, we thank you for being around. Chooks the ball.
No, but I think we shouldn't laugh about that moat issue, because the taxpayers' money was used in building those roads, and then you destroy them to also use taxpayers' money to repair them at the end of the election.
I said those persons, they must be very familiar with Benin history. Chukudi, see you again tomorrow. It's Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. We'll take a short break now. When we return, of course, we will continue with our review of the presidential election.
REFAN is the umbrella association of the over 12 million Nigerian rice farmers. Through the administration of good and quality extension services, the Nigerian rice farmer has imbibed good agronomic practices, as a result of which the average yield per hectare, which used to be 1 ton as at 2015, is today 5 metric tons. This has resulted to the increase of the national production from 3 million per annum to 9 million tons per annum. As a result of this, today Nigeria is the largest producer of rice in Africa. Since the beginning of 2015, or the beginning of Anko Bora program, Nigeria has officially not imported any rice into the country. All these successes could not have been achieved without the political will of Mr. President.
The counsel of our fathers.
I will urge and advise our younger generation to use talent and brain to sort out problems, not arms.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
Sportybet sponsors coverage of the Italian Serie A.
Ajayi. And as a prompt for our conversation segment, which is on the 2023 Presidential and National Assembly elections review, let's take this background report put together by Oyeyemi Ajayi.
We expect good education, good road networks. We expect good jobs for Nigerian youth. And we expect Nigerian youth to cooperate with the government and other political parties so that we can have a better government in this country. Because Asiwaju has done it before in Lagos, and we hope, by God's grace, he's not going to fail us.
Asiwaju is a man that always loved leaving a positive legacy in anything he has handled so far. The solid foundation he has laid down in Lagos State that other governors have been following suit. I believe when he comes on board in Nigeria, he will have, with the master plan he has so far during the campaign, implementing it, Nigerians should expect something good out of it.
We rise by lifting others. That is my lesson. That is why I learned. I didn't mean there is nobody Tinubu has raised. Today, we are not going to be where we are. It's good to raise people, and people they will surely pay. Even if you raise about 100, surely no matter what, 60 will still have to complement whatever you intend doing. And that is just the way.
I believe there is hope, because he has done it before and he's going to do it again.
All right, thank you very much for that backgrounder, of course, by way of Vox Pop. Now we have guests here in the studios with us, as well as later we'll be joining our Ibadan Network Center. Let's welcome the Honorable Minister of State Labour and Employment, and who was one of the spokespersons for the Presidential Campaign Council of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Festus Keyamo, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. Glad to have you this morning.
Thank you very much.
Also here with us in the studios is a senior legislative aide to the Deputy Senate President, and of course served as Secretary of Operations and Logistics in the women's wing of the Presidential Campaign Council. It's our pleasure to welcome the guests. If we can have that quickly, roll up on the Honorable Jennifer Oguzie. We're glad to have you this morning.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
Right. Okay, once we sort out our connections to the network center in Ibadan, we'll bring in our guests as a regular on Good Morning Nigeria. Let's begin with Festus Keyamo, Senior Advocate of Nigeria and one of the spokespersons of the Asiwaju Presidential Campaign Council. The elections are over. Results announced by INEC, winner declared, certificate of return issued to the candidate of your party. How did it go? Tough or smooth?
Well, thank you very much. Good morning. Well, the road was rough. I'm sure you all covered the campaigns. We went through rough patches sometimes. We went through smooth patches sometimes. By the end of the day, we came through. The factors why that happened, why I think we came through, we can discuss as we proceed. But overall, it was a tortuous journey, because this is the first time in the history of Nigeria we had this length of period to campaign. Before, you always have a period between 3 to at most 4 months from the emergence of the candidates, the completion of the primaries of the parties, till when we actually go to the polls. But because of the amendment of the Electoral Act this time, it required the political parties to hold their primaries much earlier than before. And so if you remember, almost all the political parties held their primaries sometime in June, if I can remember, right? So this time, it took about 8 months from the emergence of the candidates to when we went to the polls. So that length of time actually overstretched most of the political parties, the candidates, campaign councils, and all that. You know, so it was a long and tortuous journey. But at the end of the day, we give thanks to God that we came through.
All right, many thanks, Festus Keyamo, for letting us know that it was not really very smooth for the APC, despite the fact that you are the party in power, and then you're contesting the election. Yes.
That was significant because we all know that what Mr. President did was to pull out of the process. He didn't want some heavy presence of, government apparatus, assisting the candidate, our candidate. So there was no government presence, and I would thank God for that, because that adds to the credibility of the process. There was no government presence and parity supporting the candidate, or government policies deliberately skewed to support the candidate. Mr. President ran one of the most transparent process so far, at least the process leading up to the election. And there was a point, if you remember, there was a time during the campaign towards the end that even the PDP and the LP began to praise President Buhari and began to support him for some of the things, steps and policies he took. It was as good as that.
Okay, so now that we're here, you finally won the election, and then we've seen what the results are like. And for the first time, we're having the winner emerge with less than 9 million votes.
Less than 9 million?
Yes.
Okay, yes, correct.
Less than 9 million.
Yes.
Other elections.
Is it for the first time? No,
yes.
no. Abiola emerged with less than 9 million.
Well, I'm talking about from 1999 till now.
From that, okay.
Yes,
right.
yes. We've had presidential candidates come up with 15 million and all of that. But now we have just 8.7 million. That's about 10% of those who actually picked up.
The reason is very simple.
PVCs. Yes. So that brings me to my question. Yeah. Would you say that your party did well?
Oh, yes. No, let me just tell you why that happened. It's very simple and straightforward. There's no time also since 1999 that we've had 3 strong parties on the ballot. 3 almost equally strong parties in their regions on the ballot. This is the simple reason. And that's why you can see that there was also no time since 1999 where you have had the second and third coming neck to neck too. None. This is the first time. So what it simply means, and I don't know why Nigerians did not see this. We saw it coming. It was a long and tortuous journey, but it was easy for us to see our path of victory. Why? Because the second and the third and the fourth, they all split from one yoke. They were all in PDP. People are refusing to see that. So there was no way they would have defeated a party that was together as one. We didn't break up at all from 2019 to now. We didn't split into 2. But even in splitting into 3, in splitting into an NPP, that's Kwankwanso, one pulled out to Labour, one remained in PDP. Even the one that remained in PDP also had a further fragment of 5 governors pulling out again from his campaign. How did they expect to win? We need to explain to Nigerians. How did they expect to win? The other party, that was the ruling party, stayed together, never split. It was, I just tweeted this morning. I said, this is the first time I'm seeing somebody who came second and third. People who came second and third in an exam, both of them claiming to come first. And both of them agreeing to go and meet the examiner to say, both of us came first, please, listen to our complaint. This is the first time I'm seeing
and that's the reason why I'm asking you if you think your party has done well. Because, some people think that...
In the context, no, let me tell you why. In this context, we did very well. Let me tell you why. In the context of this kind of, arrangements, why did we do well? We are the only party that picked at least one state from 5 regions. Go and look at the results. There's no other party. Peter Obi did not pick votes from 5 regions. He ended up in 3 regions. The same thing with Atiku Abubakar. He ended up picking votes, one state from 4 regions. We won at least one state from 5 regions. It was only the Southeast we did not win 1 state. Then, if you look at the spread, PDP won 9 states because it was 12 we won. We won 12 states. Peter Obi won 12 states. PDP won 12 states.
Yes.
Then Kwankwaso picked 1 state, making 37. Right? Now, it was only we that won 6 states in the north and 6 states in the south. Only the APC, to tell you the spread. Now, let me just finish this. Peter Obi won 9 states in the south and 3 in the north. And the 3 came from North Central, not Core North. Atiku Abubakar won 9 states in the north and 3 in the south. Unbalanced. We are the only party that won 6 in the north and 6 in the south. That is the balance we brought into this. We did extremely well.
All right. Thank you very much, Honorable Festus Keyamo, for your explanation. Let's bring in Honorable Jennifer Oguzie. You've been nodding in approval of the claims that Festus Keyamo has been making. But let's just throw this in very quickly. The the gravamen of the dispute raised by the other political parties, especially those who came second, third, and fourth, is that the figures on the basis of which he's saying now that APC won 6 states in the north and 6 states in the south, Peter Obi won X number, Atiku won X number, that those figures are bogus. In other words, they are incorrect. They didn't follow the procedure. So, can you argue on that? So that we clarify that and move on to other issues.
Absolutely, the figures are clear. The Beavers is there. Any results that is not uploaded on the Beavers, if you have any problems with it, it's quite simple. You go to court. I can tell you from what the world has seen, the election was free and fair. You can't imagine losing Lagos. The candidate is from Lagos. If you think if it was rigged, would we have lost Lagos, Kano, states like that? So I think everybody has the right to, argue it. Everybody has the right to go to court. The INEC chairman said that the result that they are working with, it's the result that was uploaded on the Beavers. So every candidate should go back to their agents and find out exactly what happened. If you uploaded your result on the Beavers, that's exactly what was used to declare our candidate, and we don't have any issues with that.
All right, Honorable Jennifer. Okay.
Yeah. Let's clarify this again, because we've had some guests who've made comments. There are also people in the public domain who have also made comments.
Okay.
So that you also have the opportunity of responding to some of those kinds of comments.
Sure.
They talked about voter suppression. They talked about violence in some of the states that tended to have disrupted voting. They also talked about the logistic snares that crept in the course of voting on Saturday. And more importantly, some of the observers have issued their preliminary reports, and those preliminary reports don't quite square with your assertion that they say the elections were free, fair, and all of that. What's your reaction to this bouquet of issues?
Okay, now when you talk of voter suppression, I will agree with you that this is the highest number of registered voters that came out willing to vote. Now, people have these emotions or these expectations that they will be stopped to vote. But I can tell you, every party came out there to vote for their candidate. And APC, I can tell you for a fact, did not suppress anyone to vote. People were just eager. First of all, Beavers is something that is brand new, introduced into Nigeria. Now you're telling someone, oh, you need to have patience, get your fingerprints, get your pictures, and they're getting all agitated already. Now, some people, when you try their fingerprints, it doesn't work. You have to go through the facial recognition. If you do not explain to them that voting education to let them know that accreditation needs to be accurate, if you don't get that green check mark that says confirmed, your vote will not count. So now you have people that are already protesting in the back. Why is it? Because what you see in social media is actually different from what you see actually on ground. Take an example for me. I voted in my booth, with the West Local Government, booth 005. I know how long it took. It was seamless. It was perfect. But everybody was also just, yes, they're voting for His Excellency Peter Obi. We also have our loyal party voters who came out there to vote. And what is not about voting is about protecting the vote. We made sure that every of our party representative knows to make sure their booth units will come out clean, fair, without anybody being apprehended, restricted, or stopped from voting.
Can I just come in there? Because, asked issues that, relate also to law and how we look at things. Now, there are two issues you raised. The first is the bogus nature, as the claims.
Claims, yeah.
Yes. Bogus nature of the results, as claimed. And then the voter suppression and violence. These are the two issues you raised.
Mm-hmm.
First, bogus results. Now, there must be a scientific basis to say the results are bogus. First of all, with the issue of Beavers now, the total number of votes returned cannot be above the total number of those accredited, by the electronic device. That they have not proved, because I would like to see the scientific basis for this claim. Bogus means that the results were far more than the people who actually lined up on that day to vote. That's the meaning of bogus. We have to break it down to the...
No, the meaning of bogus is false.
No, false. No.
False, yes. That's the meaning of bogus, yes.
Falsity means, of course, that it did not reflect those who came out to vote.
It could be smaller, it could be higher.
No, but then it cannot be higher.
No, it could be smaller. Hang on a second, Honorable. It could be smaller for some parties and then higher for others. Okay. So in aggregate, it is false. That is say it does not true according to those who are contesting the numbers.
Now, so what is the scientific basis for this? Because normally it's easy to come and make claims without now substantiating those claims.
These claims.
Now, this also it ties in with the second issue too of voter suppression. Both issues are intertwined. Yes, one. Now, where did voter suppression take place? Where did violence take place? Now, we have seen clips, because they are relying on clips they saw on online and all that. We've seen clips of certain pockets of violence in certain parts of the country. Now, how widespread were these to affect the substantially the entire results or outcome of the election? That is what we normally ask, because there is nowhere where you have 176,000 polling units that you will not have irregularities in a few. There is nowhere in the world, nowhere. Normally what you ask is that, well, was this substantial enough to affect the entire outcome of the results? Those things, I want to note that it is not who cries out more that is right, because we have to be reasonable at this time to douse disaffection here and there. We want to be gracious in defeat, in a victory. However, if you look at other parts of the country where we did not even get one state, or we did not even get up to 25% in all the states, we have substantial evidence coming also from those areas where there was also massive violence against our supporters and suppression of votes. It's an honest truth I'm saying. There were clips where old women lined up to vote.
So for a second.
Hold on. I need to point this out.
I agree. You will point out.
Don't suppress my own vote.
I'm not suppressing you.
No. Don't suppress my own vote.
I'm not suppressing your vote. You will make your point. You will make your point. My question is relating to what you have said. For a second, take your mind away from the fact that you're a member of the APC. Yes. How would you rate this election? Compared to previous elections we have had in this country, considering the reports that we've had and the assurances we got from INEC, before this election?
This is one of the best we've had in terms of improvement, in terms of technology was used. To the extent that, let me tell you why it is one of the best. Because you don't have a situation where the total number of votes returned for everybody exceeded the total number of people actually accredited and captured by electronic device.
The beavers.
You don't have it. Now, like I said, you have clips coming from other parts of this country where we did not get 25% of the votes. And we should be worried about that. Where old women lined up to vote. And we saw videos of people directing them, INEC officials, where to vote, holding their thumb and pressing one political party throughout. Old women.
You're a lawyer.
No, I've seen that.
Could that be the equivalent of an illiterate jurat?
No,
because could that be? But you understand what I'm talking about?
Not illiterate jurors.
I'm just saying. I said equivalent.
Because even as they were making them to sing the song of a political party. They were telling them to chant it. INEC officials. There were other instances where they told them to line up. They captured them by beavers. In other words, all they did was to now get the total number of accredited people and told them to go home. And then began to press to meet up that number. In that part of the country too.
Yes. Yeah.
So what we normally ask, therefore,
go ahead.
Let me make this last sentence.
Yes, please.
Is that in a place where you now have, maybe like Lagos, you have 13,000 polling units. What you will now ask yourself is that how many polling units did this happen? And whether it would have substantially altered the entire result. That's all.
Just to quickly respond. Sorry.
I know you will respond.
I want to respond to what Honorable Jennifer said quickly.
Our viewers will also be, as you are making these examples about assisted thumbprinting in some of the polling units in the locations where the APC didn't score up to 25%, they will also be reminding you of some other videos that they saw where persons were being threatened not to come and cast their vote unless they were going to vote for a certain party.
It's also happened in those other areas. In fact, they were beating, pushing out onto our supporters.
Yes,
they were beating and pushing them out.
Or if you were of a certain extraction, you were coming to vote, this is what...
You were stopped from voting.
So the point at the end of the day we are making, therefore, is that those who are making these bogus claims are not coming to equity with clean hands.
And he who comes to equity...
The hands must be clean, washed with soap.
Just before...
is it with spittle or with water?
No, soap.
Spittle. Yeah, you can have soap.
All right, we have our guest in Ibadan ready, but just before I go to him and introduce him quickly, Honorable Jennifer, while you were talking, you talked about the fact that we have the highest number of registered voters who actually came out to vote. That's not actually true. Because out of those who picked up their PVCs, 87 million of them, and looking at the statistics of what the votes show, just about 20% actually participating in this election, and that is low compared to 2019, where we had about 35%, coming out, to vote. So just to quickly clarify,
new registered voters came out more this time.
We haven't disaggregated the numbers.
Yes. We're just talking in general that, as far as voter apathy is concerned, this is, low compared to what we've had, let's just look at 2019 as a case study. Now, we have our guest in Ibadan who is right there with us. He's from the Department of Political Science, University of Ibadan, Professor Emmanuel Remi Ayede. Many thanks for joining us. I'm sure you've been following the conversation, and yes, you'd like to respond. You are not in the political party, I'm sure. You are a lecturer, and you've been following the political process in Nigeria. How would you rate, the 2023 presidential and National Assembly elections that went down on Saturday?
Everyone, and good morning, Nigerians. I've followed very keenly the spirited debate, especially the points that are made by Honorable Keyamu. I think the argument is opening up the fact that the elections were riddled with malpractices, because he said both in places where his party is strong, there are malpractices there, and the discussion has also shown that even in other places where his party is also strong, there were malpractices. So, which tells us that we are generally agreed that there are lots of malpractices with this election, and the president himself admitted that there were flaws with the election. The real challenge, looking at it from the point of view of the guidelines or election administration, is really the fact that at some point the effort to upload the result, which was expected to be done before collation, was never done, and it created some kind of challenge regarding the credibility of the election. And I think that's really where the major challenge came from, because it then created all kinds of possibilities in terms of the traditional tendency to manipulate the results between the polling units and the collation centers. And that's why the arguments and complaints about the election is built around that interval. That was the idea of upholding the results is supposed to foreclose or at least narrow the possibility of manipulation between the polling units and the collation center. But we have a situation where the results were taken to the collation centers without them being uploaded into the IRF portal. The whole idea is to promote transparency. Once it's in the IRF portal and there's conflict about the results, we can then go to the uploaded result in the IRF portal and then compare with what is on the ground. And I think that's actually where the problem came from. The other incidents that has been discussed so far, the whole idea of voter suppression, violence, and so on. Yes, we can argue that they are not widespread, and I think the reports from the media doesn't really show that they are widespread. But the irregularity that could occur within that interval, which the technology was supposed to have taken care of, we didn't succeed in getting that. And that's why a lot of conspiracy theories are now becoming prevalent among the public. Therefore, the question, on the process is actually the burden of this current election. The technology that was supposed to give a fillip, to the integrity of the election became the basis for questioning the integrity of the election. And I think that's what we really need to begin to think about, ways and means of addressing the issue against this election. Of course, we know that the parties involved would have to go to court to prove their case if they have serious evidence to do that. And that will be left for the courts to decide, and the responsibility, of course, to the parties to make a case contrary to the position of INEC. Because the INEC chairman said with the result before him, he was satisfied with the procedure that has been observed, and the returning officers, of course, are answerable to him. And if he says he's satisfied, then of course he has sufficient ground to go on with the announcement of the result, which he did. And he also made it clear that the returns have to be made before any review will be done, because some of the political parties were already very angry, and they were the result should stop immediately. And I thought that the decision of the INEC chairman is preferable to a situation where the announcement of result was stopped midway. To have created a lot of tension within the polity, and then create a situation that looked like what we experienced in the annulment of the June 12th presidential election. But that's where we are.
All right, Professor Ayede, thank you very much. We're having some audio challenge a moment ago from your end. I hope our engineers clear that up pretty quickly. I want to still stay with you. I know you were with us here in the studios on Monday before you returned to Ibadan, where you are based. But I would like you, I hope you picked up that from what Festus Keyamo, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, said earlier. And I think it's an issue that we have not spent time on in evaluating. Let's be realistic. The APC is the ruling party, the governing party, as they also would like to style themselves. But Festus Keyamo drew our attention to one fact, that even though as a ruling party, and therefore a certain sense of incumbency without the president himself, outgoing president being directly a candidate, the president did not deploy state power in support of the APC for this particular election. We recall the president himself had earlier said that, look, some of his key officials should continue to face the business of governance, vice president, SGF, and that no resources from, as we normally had in the past, from MDAs will be used for the purposes of financing the election. And more importantly, there appear to have been no reports of security agents behaving in a way that tended to have supported either the ruling party or some other concerned interest. The neutrality of the security agencies is one that we have not also examined. Can we take a look at this, Professor Ayede, and then see how we can frame it around our review of the elections?
That's a very important aspect of the election, but it's difficult to make a generalized claim that the security agencies were completely neutral. If you look at some of the malpractices that went on, we saw policemen standing by without trying to intervene in the process. And that puts a big question mark on whether they are. Then, of course, in terms of the position of the president, he promised us that this election will be free and fair, because he says he wants to give a legacy of free and fair election. And we thought that that was a good, but it wouldn't have been out of place for the president to support this party. And we all were witnesses to the challenges that went on after the primaries and during the campaign. The famous speech in Abuja, where the presidential candidate alluded to certain policies of the government which was designed against his candidacy. So, yes, there's no way, there's no record of the security agencies preventing people from access or favoring one particular candidate, a particular party against others in terms of condoning of some areas that the party is strong. But we also talk about cases where security agencies did not intervene on time, where violence was being perpetrated. Those are the areas where we think that the security agency didn't do quite well regarding their presence in situations where some illegalities and violence will be perpetrated. But in terms of outrightly identifying the ruling party, I think that won't happen. We have had a situation where in previous elections, the security agencies were blatantly demonstrating support for a particular candidate. And I think that's it. But the other point I would really like to talk about is also the claim by Honorable Keyamo that his party did extremely well in this election. And because if you look at the figures and then the performance of presidential candidates in previous election, the performance of this particular APC in this particular election is actually worse off in terms of the 2015 and the 2019 election, in terms of the number of states. And remember also that even in states where other parties did not win, they garnered substantial amount of votes. So we don't just look at which party won which state in order to determine the popularity of the candidates. I think the APC should be magnanimous in victory.
For your response. Festus Keyamo, you're itching to respond to Professor Ayede. I would let you respond, but while you respond to him, I also want to ask a question so that you can, attempt both at the same time. I asked about your performance at the polls on Saturday, and I want to just, looking at the figures that we saw from the elections. Let's use Nasarawa, for example, as a case here. The chairman of your party is from that state. You have a two-time governor who is also in your party. The present governor is also a member of your party. And we saw that, the APC actually lost the election in that state. In fact, a two-time governor also lost his seat in that state. The president lost his state, the All Progressives Congress. And then, your presidential candidate also lost his state. So, in your assessment, really, because you are the ruling party, and then now you have won, you're coming on board again. How would you react, to these figures that actually came out, looking at the fact that, if you have actually done well in the past 8 years, are we supposed to be seeing this kind of trend, especially in places where you have, key figures, or if you like, big masquerades who should actually control the votes? And then you can respond to Professor Ayede.
All right. Well, let us not lose track of what Ayede said. So let me just quickly say something about Ayede's comments about that.
Ayede,
what I said.
Ayede lost his election.
Oh yeah,
Ayede.
All right.
I'm sorry.
I apologize to him for mispronouncing his name. All right. So I want to just quickly respond to something he said that maybe suggests that what I said earlier appears a bit contradictory. When I said the elections were free and fair, and that I still acknowledge certain, discrepancies, certain, malpractices and all that. I just want to put my thoughts very clearly so that Nigerians will know what I'm saying. And for those who are uninformed about how electoral jurisprudence works, an acknowledgement of irregularities in certain areas and certain polling stations is not an acknowledgement of the total collapse of the entire election. So I just want Nigerians to know that. It's not the same thing. When you acknowledge that you saw certain things that happened in certain areas, like I did acknowledge, what we normally ask in electoral jurisprudence is that, were these things, I do acknowledge it has happened, but were they substantial enough to affect the entire outcome of the election? Did they happen so much as to now tilt and change the course of the wishes of the electorate? In other words, this is where the electorate decided to go. But those incidents now totally changed the course as to deliver a different result to Nigerians. And I said no. So that is why I cited those other examples, those other areas that at worst, one, they were not widespread enough to change the total course of the election. Because first of all, let me be honest before Nigerians. Whether they lined up people to vote to in the southeast, whether they told them to print their team somewhere or the other, whether they told them to go home after capturing them, Peter Obi will win the southeast. So I want to be honest.
Peter Obi will win the Southeast. But so will there? That the point I'm making, therefore, is that those incidents in the Southeast may have, like we said, swelled his votes a bit like Ijebu Gari, but it will not detract from the fact that he would have won the Southeast. Now, to be honest,
and he won the Southeast.
And he won the Southeast, so he did not detract. So, to be honest, would you expect they should also return that honesty on our part that Asiwaju will lose the Southwest too? Overall, the 6 South, would they have expected him to lose it to Peter Obi when he's from there, despite those incidents that happened? That's the point we're making. Now, in the North, we have 14 Northern governors who, first of all, during the primaries, acknowledged and endorsed Asiwaju to say, look, they will deliver him. And they said, look, we don't want power in the North. Take it back to the South. That was one of the most gracious things we have seen in our political history. Even when it was given to them on a platter of gold, one of their sons was picked by consensus to be president. They rejected him within 30 minutes and said, take the power down South. Now, you can see that these governors came true for us in the North. Because even areas where we now lost a lot from what we did in 2019 when their son was on the ballot, which is President Muhammadu Buhari, in places like Katsina, Kaduna, you know, that we now lost. Kebbi. We lost Kebbi too. Yobe, that has been traditional APC or opposition or anti-PDP since 1999. Yobe. We lost Yobe. We won Gombe in 2019. We lost, Gombe now. So if you have the power, if you have the access to change result, to rig an election, will you not just rig it totally to be sure of yourself? But how did we come through? We came through because these governors stood their ground and fought, in the sense to the point that even though when we were losing grounds in certain parts of the North, we competed very well. The margins were not so much. We were coming back to back. And so those margins were not enough that Atiku Abubakar got to come and fight our margins in the Southwest that we got. And North Central. North Central have been a traditional base. We entered North Central. This time we still won 4 states in the North Central. Niger, Kwara, Kogi, and surprisingly, Benue. Because of the kind of local politics we played in Benue.
But it was a close fight.
It was a close fight at the end of the day. So it's to show you how competitive the elections were, how it reflected the mood of the nation, and then just to come back now to your question, to dovetail it to your question as to how well we did. In this context, I always say that it is it's in contextual, sense I am talking about, not comparison, not in compared to 2015, 2019. We did well because in the contextual, sense of the fact that we did not feel the Northern at this time, like President Muhammadu Buhari. We also have 3 parties that were fiercely competing for the #1 position. Unlike before, it's in that context we did very well. In 2015, remember, we did not enter 2 regions at all. South, and Southeast. We never entered those regions. We were blocked out. We don't win 1 state. In fact, it was so bad we didn't even make 25% at all. I think in Southeast or South in 2015. We improved in 2019. That we now made 25% in some states. But this is the first time the APC now entered 5 regions. It is in that context. Don't look at the 8 million. Look at the spread, the way we continue to spread into regions. That is in the context I'm saying that we did very well.
Okay, Professor Skayamo, thank you very much for your explanation. I was tempted to stay with you on the basis of what you were saying, but we've kept Jennifer idle for a while. But it's another
not idle.
Well, okay, fine, that's fine. So with your kind permission, let me return to him to just talk some more about this issue. Nigerian political analysts had yearned for a so-called third force. This followed, of course, their assessment of the 2 leading parties, whether ruling or opposition. They said, look, the time had come, let's get a third force. And for a long time, nobody assumed that there was going to be a third force. And suddenly, Labour Party snowballed into the obedience following the emergence of Peter Obi. And here he is, he's come third, a strong third, some would say, in the elections. He made a strong showing. Was the APC Presidential Campaign Council rattled or challenged by the emergence of the third force represented by obedience? Just be honest.
I'm very excited by this question.
Yes.
Very excited.
Yes.
We were rather extremely happy. If you look at what Professor Soludo wrote sometime in November, and which was our postulation all along, and people did not, they seemed not to listen to what we're saying. There's the biggest favor, the biggest, advantage Asiwaju had in this election was the emergence of Peter Obi. So people didn't know all along that we were excited by Peter Obi. In fact, in one of my famous interviews on another channel around January or so, I said, I was projecting, and people thought I was joking. I said, during the inauguration day, I would let Asiwaju put Peter Obi on front row near him, that he's the reason why he won. He has to give him that front row seat. Look at the results that came out. So what people did not know, really, that a campaign for a third strong force was a campaign to strengthen the ruling party. Because third forces, most times, they come out of a broken opposition. And this is what happened. They could not come together and harmonize their ambitions. Out of anger, a few days to their primaries, PDP, they imploded. Peter Obi pulled out of anger. Kwankwaso pulled out how he was treated in the Northwest. I want to let Nigerians know that these people did not pull out of PDP out of some kind of principle, really, that they did not like PDP again. No. It was ambitions that destroyed PDP. Their individual ambitions.
No, they are still alive. Their
ambitions at that time. Their ambitions at that time. Cost them the election.
Yes.
You know that Kwankwaso was maltreated in the Northwest, PDP Northwest structure, that was virtually handed over to Tambuwa, because he was only the governor in the Northwest. And, because Kwankwaso did not have a governor or a state to fight with, they now gave the structures to Tambuwa. That was why he left in anger. Peter Obi, few days to the primaries of PDP, did not even have one delegate from Anambra. They took everything from him. As a former vice presidential candidate, he left in anger. So they know they were not going to win. I want to make this bold claim. Kwankwaso knew he was not going to win. Peter knew he was not going to win. But they wanted to hurt PDP. Their intention was to destroy PDP. And they showed it at the end of the day with the results we are seeing now. Because those results from Kano that went to Kwankwaso, they are traditional PDP votes. They would have gone to PDP. But guess what? Because of that...
In 2015, they went to APC.
Sorry?
In 2015, those votes went to APC.
Oh, no, but of course, but PDP did better than it did now. No, yes. PDP did not even get 10% of the votes in Kano.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
Of all places now. It's horrible. And so it now opened up a big balance for us in Kano. Why Kwankwaso took out all the 1.something million votes and wasted them, threw them into the sea. The competition now was between PDP and APC, and we now opened a 500,000 gap in Kano. That balance of 500,000, and PDP was decimated to like 5 or 10% of the vote. We now use that balance of 500,000 to be quenching all the other differences we're having in other states in the Northwest. At the end of the day, we balanced it up. We went to the Northeast, we competed too. We had, a balance of votes from the North Central to also, balance of those, differences we faced in the Northeast. So why did we win this election? Atiku Abubakar did not have substantial votes in any region to fight our balance from the Southwest. The balances we came from the Southwest, he didn't have the votes to fight those balances. And that was it. We competed well in the North, even though we lost some states, but we competed well back to back with him in the North. And that was how this election was decided.
Yes, and some people have said that the 3.5 force, 3.5 meaning Atiku, Obi, and Kwankwaso, and then the 0.5 will mean the G5 governors are actually the destiny helpers of the APC.
That's
not necessarily the voters who actually came out to vote.
The people should look at themselves in the mirror this morning and say, how did we allow this to happen? They are holding joint press conferences now. They should have been doing this joint meeting before the election.
But thanks, Festus Keyamo SAN. The parties we're talking about are not immediately available to respond to the issues that you have said. So, but of course, your analysis is clear. Again, I will apologize to Jennifer because Professor Ayede is nodding or smiling in approval. Well, let's just get his view on this in terms of how the three other political parties allegedly or apparently miscalculated and they shot themselves in the foot.
Before Professor
yes,
Yade responds,
yes.
you see, that's the reason why a woman didn't come out strong in this particular poll. What we're doing now. Because Jennifer has been sitting here, and I think she should answer one question before we go to Professor Ayade.
Okay, thanks. Earlier, Jennifer, I drew attention to the fact that the only woman in the race was squeezed out by the APC victory. That the APC squeezed out with the analysis that Festus Keyamo has been giving us. APC so squeezed out she got only 26,000 votes.
You call it only 26. Only 26 voices at least supported her. So it's something.
Yes, something. But the APC and others now squeezed out.
Because you are digging a hole now.
I'm not digging a hole. I also said earlier on this part review that apparently there was one community that was moted. A sudden moat, as they did in Benin hundreds of years ago, was created for voter suppression, although they said it was for security purposes. I only apologize to you, and then of course you were nodding in approval.
No, apologies accepted. It's
Thank you very much. So then Professor Ayode, let's get your take on the analysis provided by Festus Keyamo with respect to the fact that the fractious nature of what would have been a fuller entity of the PDP made it ultimately easier for the APC to coast to victory.
I think that Honorable Keyamo is still enjoying the victory from that election. So, because he has done a lot of cherry picking, as if the tension within the political parties is a preserve of the PDP alone. We know what also went on during and after the primaries of the APC. But yes, if you look at the PDP, there was a great tension within the party, which predictably would have ended up in this circumstance because first they went to the primaries, they couldn't resolve whether they want to zone the party, the presidency to the south or to the north. They said let the candidate who is likely to win the election prove it at the primaries, and it turned out that after the outcome of the primaries, there were very strong grievances. In fact, in the build-up to the primary, because they couldn't even agree on the zoning principle, there was a serious crisis. That's why Obi, seeing the handwriting of the war, quickly, voted with his feet. If you also look at the aftermath of the primaries, the effort to unite Governor Wike, later the G5, under the umbrella of the party, it did not materialize. And then there was this perpetual tension. When they were supposed to be campaigning, they were still having these issues, and it was they made a public show of it. I think that's a very important point to emphasize, because it was not an internal family problem, as they would to call it within the PDP. This time it was exposed, and it exploded in the media. They took it even outside the country, and in that sense, they really gave a very bad impression of what the cohesion within the party was like. And they were not able to resolve it. They couldn't negotiate, they couldn't trade off, some of the issues, some of the opportunities. Wike and his G5 were insisting that Ayu must step down. The article supported, insisted that Ayu must stay. So people thought that at some point before the election there will be a resolution, but there was never a resolution. And then you don't have people, they are too so strong in the party that they can carry out anti-party being penalized. So I think to that extent, is saying that the PDP shot itself on the foot.
Professor Ayede, thank you very much there for your comments. We're going to have to take a short break, but I'm feeling reluctant with the kind leave of our director to tarry a while for this break, so that it will not appear again that we are keeping Jennifer in abeyance. Jennifer, you talked about the beavers, and everybody said, look, the beavers was going to be a game changer in the election. But Professor Ayede drew our attention again to a critical requirement of the beavers that, yes, beyond accreditation of voters, the beavers was also supposed to be used to upload the results real time from the polling units to the ward level, and this appeared not to have been done across vast majority of the polling stations. Ayede, as I said, drew attention to that. Our guests, since the commencement of this week and our conversation, have also drawn attention to that, and that has been a major talking point as to the weakness in the conduct of this election. What's your reaction?
So when you think about beavers, you should expect certain reductions in, what is it called, Wi-Fi, or not the Wi-Fi system working. Because I noticed a lot of the agents, when they try to upload the results, nothing happens. They'll call their supervisors to report it. So you can't expect it to work 100%. The BVAS is there. It's been introduced. And I know for sure the next election, they will take in account with all this, laid back and scenarios that we've had to make it much better. Now, if you tried the first attempt, the second attempt to upload the results, to the beavers and it's not working, what would you do? You take the beavers safely to the ward level, to the collation center, and have them recorded. So I think that's actually what made most of the returning officers have a delay in uploading the results into the beavers.
All right, Jennifer, we need to go on a break now. Thank you for that response. Of course, when we come back from this break, the conversation will continue.
Thank you.
All right, looks like that break is
from Ogun State, but I'm based in Lagos. I've just recently taken a trip to Ibadan, and in returning, I decided to take the train. So I said, I'm not so sure, but I'm willing to try.
We thank God that the commencement of this present administration, railway was at a very, very low ebb. And when they came, they took the bull by the horn.
And I'm really happy that I tried. This was probably the most seamless journey I've had since I've been in Nigeria. For example, the train left on time. I was not expecting it to leave on time. 8 a.m., we were on the move. I think it's an amazing alternative to being on the road, especially with just the traffic. It's quite intense, there's insecurity, and it would be amazing to see the government invest a bit more into more trains going into other cities and states. It would really free up the congestion that takes place on the road and leisure type of experience within Nigeria.
Everywhere you go, from banks to hospitals to public offices, mass transit stations, airports, and even telecommunication centers, senior citizens are treated as nuisances. They are not. They are senior members of our society, and they deserve the utmost respect. We shouldn't be having our aged fathers and mothers standing in long queues to withdraw their monies at banks. Our retired senior citizens shouldn't be caught standing in buses for lack of seats or chasing after one just to get to their destination. Senior citizens shouldn't have to sit long hours in hospital corridors with no geriatric specialist to attend to them. Our senior citizens deserve better treatment from all of us. They deserve to be listened to. They are deserving of seat reservations on public buses and priority attendance in public spaces. As young people, we are quick to say, no one owes you. This is not true. We owe the elderly members of our society a helping hand, our services, and respect. Age-friendly societies have more senior citizens enjoying good health, living safely, and engaging in meaningful community work than those who do not. Dignifying age-friendly services for senior citizens.
Trouble here, keeping them away from goal. Diaz bends it.
It's a storming run by Davies and Choupo-Moting.
Oh, there's plenty of space for Koulibaly. That's his first touch of the ball. That's his second, and that's Stuttgart's third.
Forward by Kimmich. It's loose header by Liner and in by Matistel.
Sporty Bet sponsors coverage of the German Bundesliga.
All right, welcome back. It's still Good Morning Nigeria live on the network service of the NTA, and our guests are still very much with us, and we're talking about the presidential elections, just looking at a review now, even as we head towards the March 11 election, talking about the governorship and the state assembly elections. All right, so Festus Kemo, you want to respond to the previous question, which my colleague earlier asked, and yes, you're going to have the opportunity to answer that question. But I'm going to ask you this question. The All Progressives Congress in all, talking about the National Assembly and the presidential election, didn't actually field a lot of women. And we saw that even for some political parties who try to field women, your party also tried to stop them from emerging. Yes, maybe I should say that you respond. Okay, now, because we need to talk about the women folk. It's very important. So I want to find out, now that we are at this point, you have a president-elect coming from your party. How do you intend to carry the women along, even as you respond to the Beaver's question?
All right, quick one. Now, the impression has been given by the opposition that the use of technology in this election virtually collapsed at the end of the day, that they bypassed technology and all of that. And of course, they spent a lot of money in technology, and at the end of the day, it was bypassed. It is not true. Let me explain the use of technology in this election and where they are complaining about. First, there is the issue of beavers. Beavers is the technology that captures you when you come to the state, the polling unit. And it displaces what we used to call the voters register, where they will look at the voters register, tick your name, and then ask you to vote. It displays that because there was a lot of fraud in that, in the sense that people were not even following the voters register, they were overvoting and all that. There was no way to confirm. Now, so that use of beavers did not collapse. Let us explain to members of the public. It did not collapse. At all. Because at the end of the day, there were even so many cancellations in places where beavers was not used. And that is a strict rule regarding beavers. If you don't accredit by beavers, I'm sorry, you cannot vote. And then, when you vote, even without beavers, the reports they will give to you at the end of the day, printed from the beaver server or whatever, the reports, it is like, let me explain to members of the public, it's like a bank statement printed out from bank. When you go to the bank, say, give me my bank statement. It shows all the entries in the bank. You cannot alter it. It's the point, because it comes directly from the system. So you will now know, if you look at that beavers report at the end of the day, if they record one thing against one unit and they did not vote in that unit, it will show that there was fraud there. Because the beavers automatically transmits its data to the central server, not to the IREV. That's what I want to explain to Nigerians. It doesn't transmit to the IREV from the beavers, from the unit. It transmits to the central server of INEC. And INEC now, upload that data from that central server into the IREV. Just for public viewing. What IREV is for public viewing. It does not authenticate the result. It does not mean that, it is what authenticates the result.
So
what authenticates the result? What authenticates the result?
What do you think happened?
Let me tell you what happened.
Between the central server and the IREV.
Very simple. That is what happened. Let me tell you what happened. There was transmission from beavers to the central server of accreditation first. So the accredited figures went to central server. Secondly, the uploading also from the result, because there are two transmissions the beavers must do. One, the accredited figures, it will transmit automatically. Second, the results snapped. They're from EC8 EC8A. EC8A. They will snap it and also transmit.
Upload
it to the central server. Now, INEC now says when everything came to the central server, as they were uploading to the IREV, I'm not holding brief for them. They said maybe because they did not anticipate the load. Maybe the infrastructure was not large enough. It's either slowed down or they could not, upload as at when they wanted to upload. But though it has been uploaded, let me just tell Nigerians, it has been uploaded now. The results have been uploaded now. Now, so where did technology collapse that affected the result? Nowhere. The delay in uploading to IREV did not detract from the fact that the agents already had their results with them.
Copies with them.
Every unit, everybody had their own agents, and they got their results with them. They also had their own, situation rooms. So it is now left for them to come and tell members of the public, from these results we had, from our own NTA, compare it to what is uploaded now on IREV. Show the differences to Nigerians. We have our own result too. So it's not that somebody entered the IREV or the back end before they upload to IREV and begin to alter figures.
You already entered a caveat, and we know that.
Yes.
You are not on annex staff.
Yes.
And you are not holding brief for them.
No, I'm only trumpeting what they said. I'm trumpeting what they said.
But INEC, and that's an issue that has come up at various fora.
Yes.
INEC did not issue or offer any explanation.
They did.
No, I'm talking about timelines.
No, they did. They said, please be patient with us. There is a breakdown in...
At what time did they offer that?
Immediately after, on Sunday.
It was Sunday night.
Oh, Sunday night. Thank you. You saw it.
On
Sunday night.
On Sunday night.
They said a Sunday night. Festus
Okoye. Hang on. Sunday night.
Yeah.
24 hours after voting had closed. And the INEC chairman had said that Nigerians, or those who were interested, could view the results real time as they were being uploaded. That is the point, to say from Beavers, post-accreditation, uploading of results, goes to their server, whatever, then it comes to IREV, you just see it real time.
That is on Sunday. You don't collect results on Saturday.
No. You see,
all the final results go to the server throughout Saturday night to Sunday.
Not final results. You can go to a unit and check. Go to a unit,
what happened at
go to a ward, and then some of the IREV, some of the videos that have gone on social media.
But they started uploading. Don't forget that. I want you to know that.
Senior advocate, yes. I'm just saying this is the attribution to the social media. Yes. Some of the materials uploaded or the results uploaded on IREV, there were alterations. Again, I recognize the fact that you are not INEC, so I will put that in abeyance.
That's not INEC's fault.
No. Sorry.
That happened at the unit level.
Hang on. Whose agents were they? They were INEC agents.
So that's the problem of the agents of PDP and APC and the Labour Party.
No, if I say I'm using agent as an agency principle in law, they were staff of INEC or ad hoc staff of INEC. So it's agency. Their principal is INEC, so they will respond to that. That's not a major issue, but very quickly, and this is also a very sore one. Unfortunately, we're not going to have enough time to drill into this. One of the issues that emerged from the campaigns had to do with the role of spokespersons.
Okay.
In the course of the campaigns. And you were one of the spokespersons.
I'm the chief spokesperson. You kept saying that over and over.
The chief spokesperson. Yes. For
PDP had so many spokespersons, but we only have one.
But you also had
other people supporting me.
You also had Bayo Nanuga. You also had Dele Alake.
He's media director.
Yes, you have a spokesperson. You are utilizing the media. The National Peace Committee.
Yes.
Last Wednesday, a week ago, during the signing of the second peace accord, drew attention to the fact that the first peace accord signed in September recorded at least 44% violations by spokespersons. Lots of insults, people were, and all kinds of organizations, even before the Peace Committee last week, had raised concerns about the role of spokespersons, which some people felt was not quite edifying for purposes of the campaign. Could we have avoided that situation?
Who was giving them the voices?
No, how do you mean who was giving them the voices? Who was giving them the platform?
The platforms.
Oh, well, of course. Okay, you would know. You would know.
So I'm coming to that point.
At some point, the NBC,
exactly.
The NBC also had to issue a caution.
Exactly.
Against the misuse or abuse of platforms.
Exactly.
Just as you are here, we have not had to ask for a caution on the all appearance of that, but there were reports of spokespersons in the statements, volatile statements that they were issuing. NIPR, National of Public Relations, said, look, this is abnormal.
In all of the statements we issued, there were reactions to what the PDP and sometimes the LP, but the PDP was the culprit. I'm sorry, I'm saying that you give them the right of reply tomorrow or next, but I'm saying this because I know, your ethics here. But then, Go back and look at all the statements we issued one by one. Put them on the table.
Side by side.
Nigerians are there. Go and look at the vile language they used against my candidates. Go and look at the vile language they used against us. In many instances, we did not even respond because we thought it was too low for us to respond. They were even coming at us one-on-one. Whilst we were staying on issues and talking about the candidates, they were coming and abusing us as human beings,
directly.
I was the target.
You are pointing at me.
No, because we will drag you out of here very soon. In fact, I was the target most. 90% of the insults were directed at me as a person because I was getting under their skin, as I know how to do. I was getting under their skin. So, and I was detailed not to make them comfortable. I was doing my job, but I was doing it in a decent way, because the profession from which I come, and you know that too, will not allow me. The circle to which I belong to 2 elite circles, the INABA and also the Federal Executive Council. There are certain places I could not cross with the kind of language I use, and I stayed within. But they had no, those people there, from them. I don't want to use
which people.
Those people. They had no restraints, and so I could not even respond when they use certain language on me. I couldn't respond
because the women issue.
So the point therefore is that we were less culprits, we were less culpable, and certain platforms which Nigerians know in this country set up their platforms for certain candidates, and whilst there were certain scandals regarding certain candidates, they blacked them out. When there was some whiff of saying something against our candidate, they blew them up. And it was very unprofessional. Quickly on the issue of the women, I just want to let Nigerians know, we are the only party that has given a major ticket, Guba ticket, one of the major parties, a woman in Adamawa State, Binani, in the north. Which of the parties did that? Tell me one. None. It's to tell you how much our party is open to women participation in politics. And Binani is a front runner right now in Adamawa State. And I want to urge you, use this platform to campaign for her. I beg, please, madam. Use her. Use women power, please, to campaign for Binani. And most importantly, Asiwaju was the first person to promote the fact that to begin to push women to the topmost seats, they should pick them as deputy governors. Asiwaju promoted that culture in the southwest. That's why most of the southwest deputy governors became women, from Ogun to Ekiti to Ondo and all that. We're pushing women as our deputy governors. So that is the kind of prime position that Asiwaju leaves for women in politics. So be rest assured, going forward, I am sure between now and 2027, I sure you have more converts of women and youths who did not know him before and who they deceived into being obedient and disobedient. They will be converted. They will be converted to Baptists. They will be converted. They will be converted to Baptists very soon.
You say, Senior Advocate Festus Kayabo, we have an opportunity to either retract or correct what you said. He said those who were pushed into obedience and disobedience, so that those young people don't start replying to you. You know the way they are. They just say those people. All right.
I want to ask Honorable Jennifer now. Yes. You've heard his response as regards the women folk. I'm sure you would also like to add your voice as regards why your party, really did not do much in terms of pushing women forward, besides the Binani case, which of course is a good one, and we're looking forward to victory for that woman. Okay, but let's look at after the polls, and then we had the acceptance speech by the president-elect, and then a certificate of return was given to him, and then he gave a speech. What really should Nigerians be looking forward to now that we have a president-elect from your party again?
First of all, our presidential candidate is a man that is not racist, irrespective of your race, your gender. He's an all-inclusive leader. And I want to assure Nigerians that the man that we have been waiting for has arrived. This is a man that believes in women. This is a man that believes in youth. You don't have to be somebody to be recognized by Bola Ahmed Tinubu. No matter who you are, If you're an artisan, if you're a homeless person, if he sees you have the strength and what it takes to rise, he will pick you up and throw you up. I am pleading to Nigerians to give this man a chance. You don't have to love him, but give him a chance to put Nigeria in the face of the world. Look at what he did in Lagos. This is a man that turned Lagos into a place that the world they feed on it to come and see what Lagos has become. Bola Ahmed Tinubu is the dawn of the new era in Nigeria. He will give women the equal, fair opportunity to run. I am a woman. I contested for Federal House in the last primaries. And why am I still in APC? Because of that name, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. I know the man is going to change the face of the country. So people, this is not a time to talk about the past. This is a time for us to come together, unify, let peace reign. Whether you're from this fraction or that fraction or that fraction, APC has won. Let us start the healing process. The youth should stand down. Put your weapons down. Put your egos down. Support the presidential elect of the All Progressive Congress, His Excellency Distinguished Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He is the man we've been waiting for. I guarantee you, women will be carried along. Our youths will be carried along. There will be a lot of empowerment. Now, if the youths have no job, what do you expect them to do? They will go out and go haywire. But if you have empowerment and if you put them together and have them busy, they will not be on the streets. But now, job, 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 empowerment, empowerment, empowerment. You will see the change. This is not the time to...
We want to see the change. Is there another voting again?
Okay.
But sorry, sorry, Jennifer.
Yes, sir.
You said you contested
yes.
the primary. What happened?
Well, what happened is that...
Very quickly.
What happened is that when I contested, I ran a rigorous campaign. I knew if I was on the ballots that I would win. But I'm someone with pride. I wouldn't want anything that will jeopardize my win. I noticed it was suppression for the women. I withdrew.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so we do not really have time. I just hope that come 2027 would actually see you on the ballot, and yes, hopefully you would actually win.
And you too.
And oh well,
I'm sorry to cut you off.
Those of us who are not.
You talked about the first female gubernatorial, candidate. I can assure you, with her, we're going to make history. Benani will come true.
I will actually, take this advice from Festus Kayoma. If I'm sure Kingsley will vote for me, if I am on the ballot, because
provided I'm registered in your constituency.
And did you also...
She may run for president.
Exactly.
Sure. You're ready for president.
All right, we do not have time. Professor Ayede, we're about to round up. Just before we sign you off quickly, we've talked about the presidential election, and we have another election, talking about the governorship election, March 11. What will be your recommendation? What do you think we should do differently so we can get it right? Quickly, just in a few minutes before we round off.
The onus is on INEC. All the challenges around the election has been built around the administration of the election, the technology, the faithful observance of the guidelines in terms of the sequence of procedure from the polling unit to the collation center. We hope that INEC will look very carefully at all of those and also train the ad hoc staff who were supposed to carry out some of these activities. We saw some of the poorly written document results that were uploaded. I think there's a lot of work in terms of the logistics as well, because all these things started with the late arrival of materials and personnel and all these other logistics problems. So we expect that INEC should really retool itself, energize the logistic arrangement, and ensure that we don't have a repeat of what happened in the presidential election, where materials and personnel did not get to the polling units on time, and people had to vote till late in the night, sometimes using torches, having people volunteering and donating generators. I think these are very important things that reduce from the credibility of the election. They should try and avoid all of those things and get their acts together.
Thank you so much, Professor Emmanuel Remy Ayede from the Department of Political Science, University of Ibadan. Thank you so much for joining us on the conversation this morning on Good Morning Nigeria. I'd also like to thank Festus K. Moesi, Minister of State Labour and Employment and spokesperson of the Chief